Let's call the meeting to order.
Agnes
Roll call.
Varnarski,
Yeah, present.
Dana Syvertson,
Here.
Ed Madden,
Present.
John Kamish,
Here.
Peter Hahn,
Here.
Seth Marcus.
Here.
I'm Jill Moskel. All commissioners are present, and we have a quorum.
Okay, let's have approval of minutes, the regular meeting of February 14th, 2019.
I make the motion that we approve the great minutes that Joe crafted.
All in favor?
Thank you.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Old business, update on volunteer workday schedules.
The update is that we've been rained out a lot. We've been weathered out a lot. We did have a work day last Sunday at the slough. It was really productive. We got rid of a lot of the snags. The
Put down
focus.
seed, too. We put
Put
down
down
a lot of seed.
The goal is to, hopefully, if the weather continues, that following the next workday, Sunday, the
24th?
24th, we'd like to be at Marava to put in the interactive signs.
Interpretive.
So at some point, what I'll do is I'll send everybody a map of essentially the layout of Marava. And then you just sort of need to either think through it or walk through it and look at the signs that are available, which I'll send as PDFs, and sort of give us your take on where you think they should go. The two big signs, the 24 by 36s, are preordained to go at the entrances, one on Elm and one on Pine, but it's the other 6 or
Yeah.
7.
But we still haven't decided where at those entrances either, so.
Right. But it'll be somewhere near the entrance.
Sure.
So that's kind of not a lot of debate.
Right.
Um,
Not sure
that's-
that the ground will thaw
We'll
all the
see.
way.
Yeah.
It's got to be, what, 48 inches?
It's got to be at least 3 feet.
Okay. So that's.
We have augers or?
No, we have post hole diggers. I mean, we can
We can
drill.
rent an auger, but I don't know if we have enough money in the budget.
Maybe. We'll see. I think we still have a little left.
Well, if that ground is
Yeah.
not soft.
Well, the one thing we could do is we could use Cedric to bust it up, drill like 2 or 3 holes in real close proximity and then clean it out with the post hole diggers. So, we can go over towards the end of the week and see what's what.
Seth, if you don't know, Cedric is our auger. We named him.
Oh.
Okay. The outcome of the Seth's presentation to the Park District, it's basically on hold. I talked to Christine about it to see if they had a chance to speak about it among themselves. They have not. They tabled it until a later date when they can get together. So whatever they're going to decide to do about it, it's not forthcoming, so it's on hold. Any questions about that? Okay.
For the record, do we know, I mean, the people listening in or whatever, what the presentation was about? Is that
Yes, they understood completely.
checked?
No, or the people. You mean like the audience here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Today, we didn't say what the presentation was about. but-
Yeah, everybody here knows what it was.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, we've said it in the
everybody
The
past.
listeners
Yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah, okay. This was the presentation to the Park District about the area where they deposit all the things that they want to get rid of and they're going to chip and take care of later, and sort of the expanding nature of that and how to corral that and possibly find another place for it. So that was the content of the meeting. Wild Things, Agnes.
So the Wild Things Conference was a spectacular event. There was many people in attendance. We did our presentation, which I thought was a very good presentation, and so was our poster. And thank you for everybody for participating and coming. And I thought it was a great event. We didn't have a very large. There wasn't a lot of people that signed up for our talk, but I feel like there was a lot going on, and there was like 17 other sessions at exactly the same time, and there were several sessions that were very similar to ours. So I think it was split up in that way, and we didn't have a packed room, basically, coming to see our presentation, but I thought it was very nice. Anybody else?
Ed and John?
I think it's important for the citizens of Prospect Heights and the city officials to understand that the Prospect Heights Natural Resources Commission has been invited 2 years running to present at the Wild Things Conference, which is the biggest conservation conference in the area, drawing over 2,000 people, and really putting the city of Prospect Heights on the map as far as what the commission has been able to do and the progress that we've made. People are recognizing it, and it is a true entity that people admire.
And if I could kind of play devil's advocate with Agnes, yes, the room was not packed, but we did still have a good size audience, and I think the impact that we had was significant. We know that even from the room monitor, who really came up afterwards and expressed her gratitude for the program and to see, especially women in leadership. And so the impact, I think, was probably far more reaching than the total number of people.
Yeah.
And yet it was still I don't know, impact,
Yeah.
useful.
It was very sweet. She came up at the end and she said, "Oh my gosh, it's so great that you're doing this. And this is exactly what I want to do in my life." So that was really, really nice.
And keep in mind, too, going back, especially, we just talked about our anniversary. It was this commission exists in large part because of Carrie Spiegelhalter and the impact that we had with the previous version of the commission with our old Nature Palooza Fest, and that she had attended and was impacted by that. So, sometimes we just never know the significance of it. This case, we do know. We wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for a very, very similar situation.
Right, yes.
The other, the other interesting thing was that every single speaker we've had for Nature Speaks, with the exception of 2, were at that Wild Things conference, and they were presenting. They were all real happy to see us, but that says a lot about the caliber of the people that we've been able to attract. One of them lives in Arkansas, and the other one was out in DuPage, so it was pretty good.
Well, and hence the caliber of our commission. So,
Yes. Very nice.
okay.
All right, library, Park District programs, Nature Speaks, real brief. Terry Mizell is on April 16th as part of the Earth Week festivities, and Bill Climate is June 26th. We don't have any other bookings other than that. I'm working on a couple, which we should maybe have wrapped up pretty soon. The summer camp for the Park District. We have more information on that. First of all, I want to have Agnes read the copy that we put in and is in their brochure.
Titled Plants, Animal, Nature. Come explore the awesome natural world here in Prospect Heights and learn about our local plants, animals, and the environment with commissioners and summer interns from the Prospect Heights Natural Resources Commission. Is that the final copy? I thought that was.
Yeah,
Okay. We'll spend 2 days at the Nature Preserve planting plants, hiking the trails, and looking for critters in the creek. We will also spend 1 day at ComEd Prairie looking at plants, planting a few natives, and looking at the nesting birds. Please join us as we explore the many treasures of nature and learn about birds, mammals, reptiles, trees, prairie plants, insects, and so much more.
Okay, so that's the copy that's in the brochure. I have the dates now, which I think I forwarded. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, August 12th, 13th, and 14th, from 9:15 in the morning till 12 p.m. in the afternoon. The age group is between 5 and 11 years old. The plan is to have them spend 2 days at the Nature Preserve, 1 day at the Prairie. So these are roughly like 3-hour sessions. The Park District will provide a bus to take everyone to the Prairie. it was pointed out that the kids at this point, because this is 10th week of summer, that they're really tired and they're really ready for school. So they wanted to stress that this has got to be, that they're looking for something that's really fun, exciting, and attention-getting. And we are not going to be paid for this, so we're doing this on our own. All right, so that's the program. Any questions about that summer camp?
Are the children going to the camp? Do they pay charge a fee?
Yes. This is, 10th week is for people who don't, either they're not going anywhere for summer vacation, or they've gone and they need one more week of extension before school. So attendance, they have no idea. It's probably between maybe 6 to 10 kids at best. And yeah, they're paying a fee for this.
So Agnes, were we planning to do one of the creek samplings?
I think that'd be a
On one
great
of the
idea.
days?
I think it's a lot of fun. The kids put on waders, we get in there, we get in the creek, we look at
So that's the day I
invertebrates.
can help.
Okay,
If we can identify that sooner
Sure.
rather than later.
Well, that would
which-
either be the 12th or the 14th.
well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you said, right, or no?
Right, Wednesday, the middle day is the prairie.
Oh, I see.
So the
So-
12th or the 14th? All right.
So it's the 12th or the 14th, a Monday or a Wednesday?
And
And-
you'd like us, as many of us that can be there as possible?
Yeah, as many
Sure.
people as possible, and if you have
Well,
ideas.
the
Ideas.
12th is best for me,
The 12th is best for,
yeah, because I have to be in a suit shortly thereafter
Okay.
on Wednesday. I'm sorry, on the,
Monday.
no, on the, yeah, Monday's best,
Monday's best.
so.
Well, I have Wednesday off, but I can take off a little bit of Monday for that.
And I'll make provisions to be available too, so if
But I
you
will
have
not be
ideas.
available all 3 days, so.
Right. If you have ideas for curriculum,
Wait, hold on, were you taking the day off just for that, or were you planning on taking all of them?
no,
No.
Wednesday she's off.
I'm off Wednesday, I'll take half of Monday off, but I have to, otherwise.
Well,
I-
because I can make it Wednesday.
Oh.
It's not, it's just a preference for Monday.
Right.
So I don't want you to have to,
I think because this is going on, I'll probably just do it anyway.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, who can do Tuesday? I think that might be a difficult day.
I can
I'll do Tuesday.
Yeah. Are we supplying lunch or anything after?
No, they're doing that.
And what were the hours again, please?
The hours are 9:15 in the morning to 12.
Okay.
Think
Should be a lot of
ideas.
fun.
Yeah, I think so. So just ideas, we need great ideas to engage. I have to find all the creek things, but
Certainly a scavenger hunt based on plants and stuff like that, you know? Break them up into groups and with a team leader or something.
We can't ask for a stipend for this from the Park District? It's 3 days of adult people being off of work.
I think,
We could ask, but
we
I
can- we
think the
can
answer was
discuss it.
pretty clear already.
No, I
from
missed
The
it.
email, yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and I mean, it would be nice, but I think
yeah.
our mission here is really just
Yeah, I
to kind of do it. I'm expecting you guys will chip in for me, though, but I mean, short of that,
We have budget concerns, that's all
yeah, I agree.
out there.
Well, none of us get paid for any of this. It really doesn't matter.
right.
Okay, last thing is, in terms of the Park District program, it was in the library, are the bird walks, May 11th and April 27th. Of course, the 27th is part of Earth Week, so that's it. Nature Preserve, the interpretive signage, we've
Just
already talked
mentioned,
about that. So I will send everybody PDFs of the signs, along with a roadmap of the layout, and you can think about and come up with suggestions for which sign goes where. New business.
I think we'd lump together. A
Yeah,
and
we
B.
can lump together A and B. All right, so you all know we submitted our budget, and it was roundly received, and so we've been asked to revise that budget. Now, to that end, I created the document that you have in front of you. It was also suggested that in addition to the $5,800 that we were funded by the city last year, that we also, it was Larry's suggestion that we indicate the other source of funding that we had for the course of that year and come up with a total number of what the budget, what we ended up
What
with
we ended up,
spending or receiving for last year. So I spent the better part of today and last night looking at that. So on line 16 there, you'll see on the left-hand side of the page, the original amount that we were funded by the city. And again, just to remember, go back and review, they had asked us to throttle back on our budget greatly. And we, because we had some surplus of operational supplies, we said okay and chose to put the emphasis on that single intern position. So that's how we ended up at 5,800. Funding from other sources, line 17 for this budget year. Again, we had our anonymous donation of $4,500 for the intern. Commissioners donated interns. Jill and Agnes totaled $4,000. Residents and garden club donations, and that's on your second page, that's detailed there. That does include Lauren's birthday money.
I think we should read
Yeah,
that.
let's
It's so
read that
sweet.
part.
It's really sweet. So Lauren, our youngest volunteer and the junior volunteer of the year for this year, gave her birthday money, not all of it, but some of it. And her mom wrote this really very nice card. And she wrote, "Dear City of Prospect Heights, for the past several years, my daughter Lauren has been volunteering with the Natural Resources Commission. She has gained a great deal of knowledge and is proud to be part of something that creates beauty and serves our community. She asked to donate a part of her birthday money for their benefit. Sincerely, Teresa Eisinger."
It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Years old.
I know. It's really
Very
sweet.
commendable.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we did sign the card, and we'll get that over to Lauren. So the resident garden club donations, again, the detail is our photographer, David Ludwin, contributed $425. Lauren's $30. A friend of David's, who David was talking to about us, said, "Hey, I'll give him $25," so he did. Then we received a gift from Arlington Heights Garden Club for $100 without doing anything. And then Northtown Garden Society was $150 for the presentation and the visit that they did for us. And these are all donations. We don't charge for this. And then the Mount Prospect Garden Club for a total of $830. Other commissioner donations, operational, and you guys all saw the detail on that, came out to $5,700 this year. So
So
that,
we're talking about like kielbasa during work days, extra work gloves that we, soil,
Operational
trays,
supplies,
everything
yeah.
that we just fund on our own.
so that brings a total of funding that's from other sources this over the course of this year to $14,295. So if anybody really wants to see all the details, we have all the details, all the receipts. And then, so the total funding for all sources for this year is actually $20,830. So turning our eye towards the budget request for this year, based on the response that we had, and then again, this is just the starting point. So we need to discuss how we want to proceed from here. But we chose to eliminate the third intern. So we're asking for 2 interns, and we removed the possibility of getting a grant request or a third intern. So that's brought the total budget down to $13,185. And I think what's important about this is because the numbers that I just read you, especially the $5,795, it's not sustainable. You know, we can't keep doing that, so we really do have to,
What do you mean 9,700? Because we,
no. Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
Right.
Right, okay.
To be clear, that's the commissioner donation for operational expenses that you're talking about.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we really have to pick up some of that in the operational expenses. So I don't see a lot of room to move in that request. There is some question, though, about Alderman Rosenthal's, when he requested our plan that we submitted and was approved by City Council for the improvement and of access and enjoyment of the slough and the lake. There was the intent of the grant was to get that thing moving and start with the boardwalk. In retrospect, it was the way. First of all, the way we've done grants, and Agnes pointed this out, is that they've been outside of the budget, and so what we've come to the city with is when we had an opportunity for a grant, we'd say we'd like to apply for this grant. Can you guys participate? So it wasn't really part of our budget, and that was a mistake to enter that into that position there and make it a part of our budget. We shouldn't have done that. So I'll take responsibility for that because it was my idea to stick it there. Nevertheless, we'd still like to move the project forward. We have several Eagle Scouts that are interested in participating in that. We have Seth's new connection to Wheeling High School. We have a lot of people there. And so there's still, there's a great deal of potential to get that project started. So the question is, if you guys want to include something in the budget request for materials, or to just leave that off for now and come back and try to revisit it for another grant. Now, even though ComEd had urged us to apply for this grant, the deadline was tomorrow, so it's too late to apply.
But there's always next year, and
there's
there's
always
always other
next year.
opportunities, and
Mhm.
we still have to work out, you know, like all the permitting, and so there's still a lot of things to work out. We have time to do that.
Do we know what it costs in materials to build a boardwalk?
And then
It
we.
depends on how much we want to actually
Right,
build.
but then, and we also need to work together with the park district, because that, some of that area is,
I understand, but we need to present a number, I think, a concrete number, so that people have an idea of what we're talking about.
I
And
don't,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't have my, my figures with me, but off the top of my head, the 9,000 that we were looking for was basically all materials, and that covered 480 linear feet of boardwalk. So really, it comes down to how much do you want to spend on boardwalk, and then.
and it matters with, and, you know, all these things matter to, as far as keeping the price up or
Agree.
down.
Let me just look at this real quick.
Maybe we could approach the Park District with this, and see if they're willing to budget something out for us for this project? Maybe in combination with the city funds, I don't know.
Yeah,
Different
Yeah.
things are possible.
Yeah, it could be a joint project with
Yeah,
multiple players have an interest in this. The city has tasked us with accessibility to the property, and so the city has an interest in this boardwalk. I think the Park District has an interest in this boardwalk.
right.
Councilman Williamson talked about his joy of running as a child and playing in the mud on boardwalk, so I think Councilman Williamson expressed interest in the boardwalk in an indirect way. So I'd like to think that there's many players who have interest in this boardwalk, and collectively we can make it happen.
Sure.
I think part of the way of making it happen is the city, you know, given that they've tasked us with accessibility, the city should put up some money to make that happen. If they don't want to put up 100% of the materials, I would hope they would put up some.
So
Yeah, I think that,
roughly it comes out to about $150 per 8-foot section. So it depends on how many feet you want to build.
But we can make this into a very nice project,
Yeah,
and,
we need about 480 feet.
We do, okay.
and there's other grants, and then, like, it would be really great to incorporate this into an Eagle Scout project, and actually, one Boy Scout recently reached out to me and told me that he would like to do his Eagle Scout project, which is probably not going to be until next year, or he said at least 6 months from now, where it would start.
I
But
mean,
it's-
do the Eagle Scouts, though, do they provide the materials or just the labor?
Well, that's the thing is, when they do that stuff, they go back and work the suppliers and people, their
Right.
connections. And so, yeah, that you could expect that material figure could potentially go down, or find new ways to, come up with other things that you wouldn't have to pay for.
Or maybe it'll work out perfectly and we, apply for a grant and that covers some of it, but I guess maybe we should just leave it off for this
I
purpose.
think we should leave it
Well-
off for now.
I tend to differ in that assessment. I think, as the council said to us the other day, it's a proposal, and it's, it's presentation number one, and it's a negotiation. And I think that we present what we want, and we shouldn't be shocked if a particular item is crossed off, or supported fully, or supported partially, whatever. But I think we should ask for what we want, and if in the end we don't get 100% of what we request, that's life. But I think we shouldn't sort of, it almost seems like we're policing ourselves to a point of, we're cutting ourselves before the council cuts us. It seems, why don't we ask for what we want and need? And then if the council says no, the council says no. But I think the council has tasked us with accessibility. Accessibility to this particular site means a boardwalk, because the site gets flooded regularly. The council can look at that and say, I guess in the end this makes sense, or we'll put in
Right.
some, or we'll put in none. But if we don't ask, I can tell you they're going to put in
We
none.
can, we can always ask the council. We could do it next month, we could do it in 6 months, we could do it in 9 months. But I think what we really need is what's on this budget.
But why would they
And it's
fund it
not
if we don't
indirect.
ask for it? I mean, they're going to fund it zero if we don't ask for anything. If we ask for
Well, there's a lot involved because it is, the boardwalk does run a little bit through Park District property, and maybe the Park District would like to be in, we really, we still have to ask them for permission, and we have to go to the board, and we have to come up with all the permitting process, and so there's a lot to think about. And I guess the whole plan hasn't been formulated yet, maybe, to
But this
include
is
in the budget.
This is the time. I mean, we're being asked for what do we want in the following fiscal year?
We're not gonna have enough time to get all of that ready by when this budget proposal is due. So, and like I said, we could come back in a month or two and propose a boardwalk.
I think one option maybe would be to present the budget as we see it right here on paper, and we can add an optional line item which opens up another discussion about the boardwalk and accessibility to that area that the city and potentially the Park District wants. We could present a number for them, and that's, would be above and beyond what our normal budget is. They can consider both.
Agnes, do I understand you to say that once they accept or approve this budget, we can come back to them at a later time and ask for additional funding?
We can always do that. I mean, there's I think, a limit, but in the past, when we've asked for, it depends on timing too, I believe, because in the past, like when we've asked to apply for a grant, it sort of worked out that it was before the budget, and they set aside a certain amount of money for the grant, and that if we got the grant, that money was set aside. But it wasn't necessarily part of our budget and our budget talk.
I wouldn't
do you
count
like
on
that?
being able,
What?
I guess,
In the past, when you did the budget.
Yeah.
It was set aside.
It was set aside, right.
It was budget. So what
But
you're
before the
saying-
bud-
what you're-
right.
What you're saying right now, let's pass this and then come back in 2 months, I would strongly urge you not to do that.
Right.
Because that is a recipe for disaster. It's not gonna work.
Right.
What you're gonna end up doing is, you're gonna be asking for money after the budget's complete, and the only way we can do that is with a budget amendment, and
No, okay.
we don't like to do
Well, what if
budget
we came,
amendments.
what if we came back in January when, like, before the budget is even talked about, and we asked to apply for a grant? Because I believe that's what we did
So,
previously,
funded in the next fiscal year,
Right.
or in this fiscal year?
next year.
Okay, well, yeah, it's funded for next fiscal year.
Because I think that's what we did in the past for both ComEd grants. We approached the council
Correct.
in January,
Prior to the next
The-
fiscal year,
Right.
was it $5,000?
$5,000.
Yeah, but that was budgeted money, so they
Right.
actually set that money aside.
set it aside, right.
Yeah, I'm thinking, we can't think of that as really an option. Is it a possibility? Yeah, technically, yes, but it's not.
What is not an
practical.
option?
To go back and ask for money
I,
later.
I agree fully. I'd like to say that I think it's been expressed to us that we should not go back and ask, and if we want something, now is the time to make our budget. And along those lines, given that I think we're being clearly told now is the time to make our budget, I think we shouldn't cut our budget ourselves. We should present what we want, and there is a possibility that the council will say no to certain line items or reduce certain line items, but I don't think we should do that ourselves. And if we want to do a boardwalk, we can say we'll delay it, but we have to recognize that means we're delaying it for a full year. We won't get anything from the city for a full year if we don't put it in now. And in terms of what's the reason to put it in now is because Alderman Rosenthal told us that this year he wants us to work on accessibility. So we can come back and say, we hear you that you want accessibility, and one way to get accessibility is through a boardwalk. They may say, sorry, but we're not going to fund that boardwalk. They may say, sorry, we're only going to fund it partially. They may say, we'll only fund it if the park.
They may say that we don't accept your budget at all.
Well, they, again, but to police ourselves to the point where we're cutting what we've been tasked to do and cutting what we want a boardwalk. They've tasked us to do something like a boardwalk. And we're going to not put it in the budget. I don't understand why we wouldn't put it in the budget.
Well, if we do that, we need to be prepared for justifying it, because we're coming in requesting a budget that's roughly almost 3 times our previous one.
Well,
and
no, that's not true. It's not, well, a couple of things. First of all, it's not what different from our previous budget. It's different from the previously approved city budget. Our previous budget actually outlay was greater last year. It was $20,000. And this year we're asking
Right,
for $13,000.
because we donated half of that money
I'm
ourselves.
fully aware of that.
So,
I'm referencing strictly what we received from the city.
and so I'd rather have 2 interns and donate a boardwalk, rather than not get any interns and no boardwalk.
But what you've just said is that you're going to agree to donate a boardwalk. So you are
Well,
ready.
I can't donate $13,000.
Again, we're conceding before we've even put a budget for it. We're conceding that they should pay zero, the city should pay zero for a boardwalk, and we in fact will take our own money. You just said donate our own money to make a boardwalk.
I guess I'd rather have 2 interns than 0. And if I had 2 interns, I'd almost prefer to donate money for an intern than try to do the work of 2 interns myself.
Can't
I-
we,
But I guess I hear you saying that if we ask for things and they don't like some of the things, they'll reject everything in its entirety.
I don't know that, but I guess maybe having the I don't know.
I think the thing that you need to remember is that when we had money in there, and we were talking about only half of what the cost would have been to do essentially the full allotment of boardwalk,
We were talking
they
about getting a grant.
recoiled, and basically Alderman Williamson was saying they're not going to fund it because it's on Park District property.
Alderman Williamson also said he had joy as a child playing in the mud. Everyone wants to do it, and he thought it was a fun idea. Now, I'm not saying that therefore,
All right,
they will
we should
fund
just
it
vote on
fully,
it.
but we're not even going to ask for it, and if you don't ask, you certainly will get 0.
can't we put the boardwalk into capital expenses? Because it's really not operational. And I think that would be a separate category. It's going to be a tough sell, just our operating budget, I think, to get it past the city.
Well,
I understand what they're saying, we're
Yeah.
doing a lot of work on other people's property, and they're paying the bill for that, which You know, if I have a contractor come over and I want to pay him to do work at my house, and he goes next door and
But
does
then
work
all
on
the-
next door's house, I mean, that's,
I understand completely.
so I understand what the city is saying, and I think, that, you know, hopefully we just get the operational, what we're asking for 2 interns and our operating cost.
Can I'd like to say, I think more broadly, I'd just like to talk about negotiating in general. I think that that we should think about how to be better negotiators in general. I am certainly learning from this process, and I'm certainly new at this, and very uninformed and uneducated about this process. But I can tell you that I think we all need to almost, in a sense, almost take a class in how to do this better. When we approached the room the other day, we approached it without knowing our audience. We approached it without having anyone on our side. I did speak to somebody, actually, who does this quite regularly for their job, and they said, when I told them how we did it, they said to me, you know, they would never go into a meeting the way in which we went into that meeting. They would first talk to people beforehand. They'd get a sense of different people's preferences. They'd lay out a proposal beforehand and sort of test the waters. They'd make sure that in the room they had supporters before they walked in the room. They would never walk into a room without supporters beforehand. They said they would anticipate what the questions were and anticipate and clearly have ready answers, responses to questions. We were caught flat-footed. We had no responses to the questions they asked. We're conceding, for example, that Park District property, that the city has no interest in Park District property. I find that philosophy fully wrong. I think the city of Prospect Heights has interest in the entirety of the boundaries of Prospect Heights, including that land which is managed by the Park District. And right up here, I'm hearing that we're conceding that fact right off the bat. I'm not saying we should win that fact, but we should debate that fact, think of the fact, think of how we respond to that. But already we're conceding every fact without becoming good negotiators, without thinking about how can we, if not win the day tomorrow, win the day next month or next year.
I think your points are very well taken. I don't think this is the correct forum to discuss sharpening our negotiating skills right now. I think we need to circle around and finalize this budget proposal and use some of your suggestions to present it once again.
Can I ask, Peter, am I allowed to call as councilman
Absolutely.
and talk to the councilman?
To be honest with you, I'm surprised no one from the commission hasn't reached out to their elected official already.
And I'm allowed to talk to the councilman one-on-one about the budget?
Absolutely.
When do we have to, when does this have to be resubmitted?
Well, the next meeting is the 25th.
25th.
Because the budget won't get voted on until April, but you'd want to have something pretty much, you want a handshake deal by the 25th. So you don't want to
So we need
still,
to make a decision.
and I understand the term negotiating, but budgets aren't a negotiation. You know, you are really at the mercy of the council. I mean, that's just how politics and power plays out. Your appointed officials, they're elected officials. The elected officials are the ones that approve the budget. So, and elected officials have the added bonus of supporting a program until it's time to fund it, and then they can say, well, we don't have the money for it, and then pull support for it. So I understand all your points are well taken, but, you know, you need to speak with your elected officials. I would speak with your aldermen, you know, or, you know, mayoral candidates or whoever you want to speak with about this. You know, they asked you to come back with a, I don't want to say a pared down budget, but in my opinion, from the meeting, they were shocked at what you were asking for, the $17,000. So, and as I've told you before, before we started this whole thing, and it's not negotiating against yourself, it's prioritization. Okay, you can ask for the moon, but you may end up with the stars. So, pick out exactly what you need, what you want, and then what your dream is. Your dream may be 3 interns plus the
Boardwalk.
grant and $10,000 in supplies. That may be what you would love to get in a million years, but you really, really want 2 interns and supplies. You know what I mean? So prioritize it so that when it's a point where they balk at 17,000, you pare it down, you bring it down to 13,000. If they balk at 13,000, then you bring it down to, well, we just really need the 2 interns, which is what, $9,000, and $1,000 worth of supplies. So we can do our mission in for $10,000. So prioritize exactly what you need. So this way, if they do come back and balk at your numbers, you can move off the items that you would love to have but aren't absolutely necessary.
So I guess we have to go back to the drawing board a little bit, huh?
Well, I think we have to approve this because the next time we go before council is before our next meeting. So we have to decide what we're going to go to them with.
Well, I mean, if you take Peter's comments and advice, you know, coming back with a higher request is not going to go over very well. And I understand your point, Seth, and I actually agree with it. If you don't ask, you're not going to get it. However,
We already have.
we already asked and got whacked, yeah, on it. And I think we're at a point where a concession is needed. And I think this new budget actually is a concession. Where is the boardwalk going to get funded?
Can be in the future.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It might not get funded this year and
Maybe next year.
maybe next year, or an outside grant or something comes through. I don't know, but
Or an Eagle
I
Scout. or-
think coming back at $20,000 is it's going to shoot us in the foot.
Yeah, it would be absurd, really, because they balked at 17, and for us to come back and go, well, we want 20.
I think, lesson learned here, we will prepare better and present a better budget for the future. Right now, I think we have to work with the feedback that we received and make a necessary concession here.
I mean, in terms of the numbers that we have here, I mean, this is straight up. I mean, this is priority, with the top priority being the 2 summer interns and then
priority.
the operational supplies. There's no fat in there whatsoever. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve this updated budget for $13,185, a request for the city council.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, so it's approved. So I will formalize this and submit this to Peter.
Should we include, yeah, okay. Another cover letter or,
Yeah. We'll write a new cover letter and send it out for everyone.
okay.
Okay, moving on to prescribed
Well,
burns.
can I ask, so now that we have this budget, what are we going to do to help facilitate its approval?
Well, it's-
We'll talk to our aldermen and our, is that what you're saying? Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll give them a call. I've already made some calls.
Well, and I think Peter's advice and Seth, your suggestion is very, very probably prudent, that we do make some calls and really get a feel for it, because if anything, if we find out, like we call around and go, well, 13, well, that's still way too high, then, we've approved it, we need to process it, but then we better have a plan B too. But the best way to do that is by flushing it out.
Yes, but Dana already said there's no fat in the budget. This is straight up.
It is.
And this
Well-
is basic operating.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
and I'm not
But
saying that it's not. I'm just saying that I think the advice from Peter and Seth's suggestion is advisable, and that's to call and flush this
We'll
out.
do that and we'll see what we get.
Because if we do find out that, there's some resistance, then we better have a plan B, or or justification. If this is absolutely positively necessary, then we need to support that.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the absolutely positively necessary thing is those interns.
Okay, then we need to be prepared for why, what they accomplished, what were the results of that was, because they may not see what we know.
Right.
And again, Seth's advice is very, very spot on.
Well, they're just, they provide the work that volunteers can't do.
Well, I think it's safe to say that they don't see what we know, and so it's up to
Yeah.
us to
Yep.
educate them about that. Sorry, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Prescribed burns. The week of March 18th, it looks like there might be some windows.
Next week is looking really nice,
That's
but
next
everything's not dried out yet. So I think we could wait until the following week.
Well, we'll just monitor it.
We'll monitor it, but definitely within the next couple of weeks. Peter, we did burn season. Burn season is upon us. Prescribed burn season is upon us.
Ye-
Mhm.
Yes,
Yes.
Fall or whatever?
yeah,
Okay.
It's valid for a year.
yep. So,
I mean, as long as the resolution's been passed already.
yeah,
So,
And where will we be burning?
The slough and Morava. We have the list.
we have the Slough, we have Morava, we have Tully Park. Let's see, where else? We've already done St. Al's,
Golf course.
the golf course for the Park District.
Which is a quick one.
That's a real quick one. I believe that's it.
Well, that'll be enough if we can get those done.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
What is everybody's availability?
Again, any given day is different for me, and so,
I'm available till the 26th.
Peter?
I can work around, hopefully.
Okay. I still have Wednesdays off. so-
Wednesdays in
Yeah.
general for me are good.
I've-
Wednesdays, okay,
I've asked for Wednesdays off, but
okay.
Okay.
Well, I'll let you
So
know
I
what the
will,
weather- how the weather plays
I'll
out.
craft a letter to the city telling them the burn season is upon us again, and copy Chief Sawaki, and Tim Jones, and Peter and Joe, and the mayor.
And Seth, you're probably gonna be okay with
Spring break.
Wednesdays too?
still have to work.
Okay, proactive nature management plans. This was the category where we were going to talk about projects like Somerset Park, the Beavers, and we had an inquiry today from a guy
Ooh, Seth can,
who I think he was
I think
reaching
Seth-
out to Seth, so I want to turn it over to Seth.
About the beavers?
Yeah.
So we've been getting requests from different sources about an interest in the whole beaver thing, because I guess people think of us as a resource in our knowledge about beavers, having dealt with them in our own area. So a couple of different contacts have been made. One is someone from Barrington today contacted me about how to manage the beavers in their area. And I gave them some information, and I wanted to get some further information from you, Agnes, about, I gave them sort of the concepts, and now I need some details about the how-tos, like the PVC pipe how-tos.
okay.
But yeah, they were very interested and very thankful.
For the record, the guy's name is Corey Bourne, B-O-R-N.
It's a she.
Oh, it's a she, okay. And she's from the Arboretum of South Barrington.
She's the manager of the Arboretum.
Just, and to make it clear that the Arboretum of South Barrington is not an arboretum. It is a shopping center.
Oh, right, okay, okay, I get it, yeah.
How appropriate.
Well, and then there's, and as far as beavers in general, there's permitting issues with those flow devices, and IDNR does not require a permit, but I asked, or, I don't know, Joe was gonna, I see if MWRD did. I guess I'll go back with him and see,
Permit for what?
for having a flow device
Flow
installed.
device, the PVC pipe that bypasses
Okay.
the dam.
So we don't know
Yeah.
if,
I'm just wondering what the official city idea is for beavers, or Park District, or McDonald Creek. There's a policy for creeks concerning beavers.
A specific policy about beavers?
Yes.
No.
I have a feeling there will be one.
Maybe it's something we can work on.
Yeah.
Did Christina get back to you about the naturalizing some of that area?
No, that's part of what she's going to get back to us about.
Okay.
So we do not have any answers. They're tied up with their golf course and their banquet hall.
But I will follow up with that permitting, because I think that's important for the future, for those flow devices, and to figure out.
Yeah, maybe MWRD would have something to say too about putting something in
Yeah,
the creek
that's, right.
besides the city.
Maybe, they will. Yeah. Well, IDNR cleared it, but of course, there's other agencies.
Yeah, maybe they have a policy too on
Mm-hmm.
beavers
Right.
in their waterways.
It's worth an ask.
Okay, any more about Beavers, Somerset Park, any of that?
I will be saying, when I give the update on McDonald Creek Commission meeting of February 26th, they mentioned the Spring Valley Nature Center let their beavers stay. They were in the area about 1 year ago, and they have since moved on. So they wanted to make the point that beavers are not long-term residents.
I don't know. It can be. Okay, civic meetings and our reporting. I did attend the ad hoc Willow Road Committee meeting for 2.5 hours.
And Peter and I were there for a good portion of it.
Yes, and right, Peter, and you were there as well. I think what can be said about that meeting is that it sort of underscored local residents' ambivalence about the whole project, and that it's not, 100% endorsed by the people that live there. They want to see changes and modifications to it. There's another meeting scheduled for, what was that, Peter, the 25th? April 3rd. Oh, April 3rd, okay.
April 3rd. They're not meeting in March.
I know that Joe had reached out to MWRD and had some conversations. I do not know what had transpired because of that. I don't know if Peter has an update. There's only one thing that I would sort of like to correct on that, and that's really all I got to say about that meeting, and that was Mr. Kupchak's assertion that the area that's adjacent to his property was scheduled or potentially scheduled to be one of the dugout detention ponds. He was claiming that that was a wildlife refuge for the lake, and it's just absolutely not true. The wildlife is over at the slough where the food is and where the insects are and all the rest of it. There's a couple of cormorants occasionally in that area, but for the most part it's buckthorn, and there's little or no ecological value there. So I just, for the record, I want to make that.
Not that it couldn't have ecological value.
It could if it was changed, but
It's turf grass and buckthorn right now. It's also the shallowest part of the lake. The herons, the egrets that don't fish there, there's not a lot of fish there. They're on the other side of the lake,
Where the food is.
where the food is.
Right.
Yeah.
because of the buckthorn, there's no frogs, so that's why there's no food. That's why they don't fish there.
And
So-
was there any discernible drop in wildlife after they did the herbiciding on that side? Do we know, is it?
Not that.
That would be really
I
hard
would
to
say
quantify.
It'd be really
I-
hard to quantify.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, very hard, difficult.
So that's basically, I don't know if you guys have any input on that meeting, if you want to add to that, Peter or Jill.
I do recall Alderman Ludwigson, Mr. Kupchak said that he had signatures from the residents, that he was representing them, and Alderman Ludwigson said he wanted to hear from them, each of them separately. So he wasn't going by perhaps he wanted to be clear what was conveyed to them as to what Mr. Kupchak was representing them for. So that was one of my major takeaways. from that.
John, have you signed that?
No, I have no knowledge of it. I've been kept out of the loop on that regarding the quote-unquote Hillcrest Lake Homeowners Association is, as far as I know, it's not really a sanctioned association. I've requested multiple times to be a member of it, be informed of meetings, emails, what have you, and it never happens. So how accurate everybody's opinion is or being represented by this one individual is, I don't know, because certainly this individual has no knowledge of it and has not been informed of it.
Did you know of
Meaning
the,
me.
right, did you know of the Willow Road Ad Hoc Committee even prior to learning?
Yeah, I think the
about it?
city or someone did a very good job at putting out flyers, notifying the residents in the area of the meeting. I happened to be out of town that week and couldn't attend, but I plan on attending the April 3rd meeting.
Okay, good.
Okay, Jill, anything on McDonald Creek?
Yeah. The McDonald Creek Commission held a meeting on February 26th. This is a brief summary. They are scheduling a creek cleanup between April 20th and 28th. That's a Saturday to a Sunday or 2 full weekends. This time frame was chosen in celebration of Earth Day, which is April 22nd. Kathy Brady, the chairperson, drafted a flyer for the creek cleanup days requesting residents to cut their zone of the creek. The flyer will include the McDonald Creek brochure. It will be mailed to residents by April 15th. They are targeting 100-plus residents who live along the creek. McDonald Creek Commission will supply litter pickup devices, gloves, garbage bags, loppers, etc. They also felt they would approach the Prospect Heights Public Works Department to see if they could recommend a landscaping company or tree removal service to be on site for 2 hours on each Saturday and Sunday of the cleanup week, perhaps with a crew of 6 men to help residents, particularly the elderly, to trim vegetation, remove larger debris. They may schedule another cleanup in the fall. In updating their McDonald Creek brochure, they may include a link to FEMA maps, and this will inform residents on where they may find information about their property lines and educate them on the environment that they live in. Joe Kinseth mentioned a new bill that has been proposed at the state level for non-home rule communities and their ability to collect stormwater fees and pay for stormwater projects. They are aware of the city of Prospect Heights has identified 20 flooding projects. The top five are very problematic, and perhaps the city can send these 5 projects to Springfield to seek funding to tackle them in a short time frame. Their next meeting is March 26th.
Did I hear you mention something at some point about
Us being there,
us being there for their,
meeting.
I did contact Kathy Brady to see if we could be on their March 26th agenda so that we can personally tell them we're here to help, particularly with the creek cleanup days. I had encouraged her to come to our work day last week so we can talk in person, but nothing yet.
okay. I don't know what you guys think about this. Sort of leads into the next subject, which is Earth Week structure. The possibility of, when we do all of our press release and everything for our workday, our Earth Week activities, including those 2 dates, the 20th and the 28th, as part of our, our PR advertising
I think it's going to be between the 20th and the 28th.
Right, that whole week.
That whole week.
that whole week.
But, yeah, and I think we could bring that up to them, too, that we'd be
Right.
willing
So
to
if they- yeah,
advertise and
If they would, like to take advantage of our,
pool of volunteers
yeah.
and people.
Well,
that-
because, and they talked amongst themselves, and there's so few of them, to be on site strategically so that they could be there to answer questions or help take before and after photos, and show the difference between their hard work. So yes, I think it would be advantageous for us
Sure.
to be there for manpower.
Could you reach out to them and see if they would like to be included in the mention?
Wait, so do I understand that they said yes for us to attend their next meeting, or?
She
Oh,
hasn't.
hasn't- got it. I thought I saw
No, she
something.
hasn't
Okay.
delineated it
Mhm.
yet.
All right.
I can follow up with her,
Okay.
because
Yeah,
her
just let
meeting's
me
in a
know, 'cause
week.
I'm just starting to
Sure.
put that together.
Okay.
As far as Earth Week goes, we have, on the 16th, we have Nature Speaks. Terry's giving his presentation on the Rusty Patch Bumblebee. On the 21st, we have our workday. 27th, we have a bird walk. And that's all we have scheduled at this point.
Were we still going to reach out to Kids Care and anyone else to see if they want to do something? But if we're going to help McDonald Creek Commission, I think that's
It's pretty full boat.
Yeah.
pretty full boat.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think they like to schedule it like in June for
Sure.
the kids' care, and so.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay.
All right, so just, if you hear anything, let me know.
Okay.
Okay, finally, updates.
On the Wheeling High School set.
Wheeling High School, and Seth did a tremendous job
Yeah.
setting this up, and
Reaching
kudos to
out
you.
and-
Yeah, I think it's a huge win for the city of Prospect Heights. One of the staff members at Wheeling High School said to me that she feels that the students frankly just don't know what's in their own backyard. And this is such a big win for the city, in that here we have, the city, the commission, and the students, sort of all, it's a win-win-win, I think. The hope, the dream is that this will continue indefinitely, that the Wheeling High School students will work with the commission, maybe forever
Sure.
after, would be pretty cool.
And
It's
what
go-
is the program exactly?
So it's, sorry? What is?
What is the program exactly?
So the program will be defined over time. It's going to start on April 24th. Currently, I have a connection with one teacher specifically, but the hope is that over time, other teachers will be involved. This one teacher is going to bring out her class on April 24th, and there's going to be an hour of work, and then an hour of, we're going to give them an education. Then she has two classes of approximately 27 students each. She'll bring one class on 1 week and the other class on the alternate week, and do that for a few weeks. The program is going to start off with sort of, the physical labor part of what we do. The students will be doing, helping getting rid of invasives and planting seedlings and things like that. And then we're going to do an hour of education. Perhaps the hour of education, and these are things which will sort of be flushed out over time, but they're quite interested in a bunch of different aspects. One is volunteerism. Another is data processing. One of the things that I believe, Agnes, is that there's these videos that they can watch to talk about how to be good data collectors and do proper, appropriate monitoring.
Oh, Dana was mentioning for like citizen scientist monitors, but we don't have those. I mean,
No, we got links to it, though.
yeah,
Yeah, lots
those
of
are
links.
just, right.
So, and
Like
we
to be
talked
monitored,
about
yeah.
various aspects of various projects that the students can get involved in. I gave them ideas for various spreadsheets that we can do for data collection. We talked about quadrant sampling. We talked about artistic projects where the students can make placards and things that talk about our native species. We talked about them developing lesson plans and educational modules for elementary, middle school, and high school. So there's different projects, and they seem quite interested. But we're going to start off, like I said, with the 1 hour of sort of physical labor, 1 hour of teaching, and then it'll evolve over time.
Seth, are each of the sessions 2 hours?
For now, there's a class that, there's a specific class that I'm working with now. Next semester, it'll be a different class, that it's actually in environmental sciences next semester. So that will even be, more, a greater fit. But like I said, I'm also hoping to get involved other classes like art and other disciplines, education.
This is a science teacher. It'll be part of your
Correct.
science curriculum.
Correct.
Where is this taking place?
Well, the first, on April 24th, it'll be at the SLU where we're going to have them do work.
Mhm.
But like I said, I hope this is a long-term relationship. One of the things we're going to do is also introduce them to our different sites and show them what we do at our different sites. So it's a developing project.
It's awesome.
So if anybody's available, those are all Wednesdays.
Perfect.
Curriculum idea?
Very exciting, Seth.
Yeah.
That's
It is
fantastic.
really great.
Yeah, it's a breakthrough that we've been looking for quite some time.
We could have some future interns and.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Future interns,
Natural area.
volunteers.
Well, I like the fact that you're crossing disciplines as well, not, I mean, first thing you think of is environmental sciences for this, but reaching across the aisle to the art side and all that, I think is a really nice mix, and
Thanks.
way to go.
Yeah, great.
Okay, visitor comments? Peter? Okay.
Okay,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Meeting adjourned.
Oh.